Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody at Tottenham on Tour. It's another bit of Friday live content, and today's discussion is. Right, so I'm glad you love it, Si, and I've loved that I've got you on the show. Now, listen, everyone, I hope you're all good and well. I have wanted with Tottenham on Tour to do, since we've been back up and running, I've wanted to do new content, and I've wanted to have different people on at least once a week. So it's not the same voices, the same discussion, the same people, which are all brilliant, but it's nice to get different views and hearing from different people. And you're in for a treat today because we've got a very, very big supporter of this channel, a very, very big supporter of myself, someone that I have got to know very well and discussed on the. We started off as emails, now we chat regularly. But most importantly, if you do watch Chris Cowden and you do watch the fan shows and you have stayed and listened to this man, Si the Fox, you're in for an absolute treat if you haven't. But Si, first of all, how are you, and welcome to being on Tottenham on Tour.
Oh, bless you, mate. Thanks for having me on. You know, I've been wanting to do it for a while, so I'm pleased we finally got there. I'm good. I'm always Tottenham calm. I think I've said on other channels I'm old enough to have seen it all before, been through it all before. I've seen the 7-0 at Liverpool. I've seen all kinds of stuff that's gone on over the years. So yeah, I'm good, and I try and keep my views balanced, but I have a bee in my bonnet about something at the moment, and yeah, I'm stuck on a point now. Point precisely.
We are going to get into this, and do you know what we're going to do with this one, people? I want people to listen to you, Si, a lot. So we're going to make this a lot about what you have to say, because obviously people know my shtick, people know how I feel, people know what this channel feels about it and the direction of this club. And I do want to say hello to everyone and big up everyone that's in the chat, members, non-members. I don't want to, I'll try and bring messages up as and when I can, but I don't want to distract Si from when we are going through this. So we're going to start with this part, and Si and I constructed this, or I say Si and I. Simon came up with the ideas for doing this because we were going to spitball. Now, we are going to start, and it's why Simon is now Levy out. And the reason that we're discussing this to start off with is when I first started, and Si was always, and you probably saw him in our chat as Psycho Fox, was always the first message for Evening Brews. And he wanted to talk about how the finances with Levy and what he's trying to do could be beneficial. And he saw a bigger vision, but he's now not there. And so I'm going to let you go on your story about this. Take it away. And monologue number one, and these monologues are incredible. So away you go, man.
Bless you, mate. Well, first of all, I just want to say, going in, or the ending of last season, was kind of the 5-year period for me. 5 years since we've been in the stadium, 5 years since we had this game-changing stadium. So I was prepared to give our board the time to get into the stadium, because you're not going to go in there straight away and fix everything and put everything right overnight. I appreciate that. And I was kind of board agnostic, ambivalent, if you like. Didn't care much for them, didn't care much about them. Think they'd done some good things, think they cock a lot of things up. But I've moved. I am now onto the side where serious questions either need to be answered. But for me, ultimately, the board isn't fit for purpose. That's frankly where I sit at the moment. So I've heard Sean Butler. Sean's done some great stuff about Spurs and saying, you know, it's not all down to Daniel Levy. And I think that's fair, because Daniel Levy is a victim of the weak rules of the Premier League or FFP or whatever else, so that, you know, there's weak rules dealing with the miscreants like the Southwest London Cheaters and the Manchester Oilers. that's beyond his control. And, you know, if you look at the stats about how many trophies have been won by those teams and the other teams in the Big Six, you know, they dominate it. And also, I don't blame Mr. Levy and his board for the fact that we've been in 6 finals in his time with ENIC and we've only won one of them. And in fairness to him, he wasn't on the pitch. So I can't for that. And I think that's a fair point. And also, he will be remembered for the magnificent stadium. Well, that's what he'll be remembered for. And it could have been so much more. And, you know, and he ballses up things there, like with the statues and, you know, when we were...
the gates that... the gates that were put in for planning permission before the concerts and events.
Yeah.
Somehow the concert events flew through. And we still away the gates.
Yeah, it's that. So he's still, you know, it's a magnificent stadium, but he still gets it wrong. And also, it sticks in my throat when we keep having Tadarius to do ram down our throats when, quite frankly, he doesn't do either, really.
Yep.
Or he does do some doing, but it's within context. And I take my hat off to him. For the gentrification project and his exceptional property development company that used to be a football club. Brilliant. And that kind of sums up a position for me. It's now a property development company that was a football club. So, and, you know, I could stomach the pain, as I said, of him and his board up until about the 5-year period. Yep. And you've got to remember that in 2 months' time now, we have been in that game-changing stadium for 6 years. 6 long years. What games has it changed? That's what I want to know. Yes, it has increased our overall spend, but that's only proportionate to the growth in the game anyway. So that's kind of the precursor. And then just on the finance side, I just want to get a couple of things out there. First of all, big business is anything but easy. You know, if you've run a business yourself, I have to various sizes, and running a big business isn't easy. And I accept you need skills to do that. However, what I would say is that we need to get a big, fat red herring out of the way, and fans of all clubs drive me mad on this. It's when somebody says so-and-so team is the X richest club in the world, or, you know, in the Deloitte's list. It means absolutely diddly squit, because let's just talk about this. PSG are third in that list. What does that guarantee them? The League and Cup in France, and that's about it. Manchester United are fourth. So are we underperforming less than them because we're ninth? Arsenal are 10th. What does it say about them versus United? It means nothing. It means nothing at all. And then Arsenal are below us. So does that mean that they're underperforming? And the same with the Southwest London Cheetahs. They're above us. So are they overperforming, underperforming? Where do you go with this? And then also what you've got to put into context here is 6 of those 10 places in the rich list are English clubs. And there's 2 Spanish. We know who they are. There's 1 French, and we know that they are oil money only. And then you've got Bayern, Germany. So what does it being the richest club mean? Absolutely nothing, in my considered opinion. So that's context. I don't know. What do you think about that? Where do you sit on that kind of spectrum?
Where do I sit? Oh, mate, listen. I just, the thing is with the teams you mentioned, obviously with Paris it's an easier league to do it in. Obviously in the French league, Bayern in the German league. Yeah. The way, listen, we all understand that we have the debt to pay. We all understand, but then again, with the debt to pay, we get told that we've got it at such a low rate, so it won't make any difference to the football team. We underperform. You see Bayern Munich, who obviously 50-50 with the way their clubs are run, they can stump up 100 million to buy a Harry Kane. Yeah. we go through this, and it's like you said, the thing I stand with this as well, and you brought it on. And I love what you said when you went on Cowlington, when you said we should change our motto from "to dare is to do" to "to fear is to fail," or "to fail is to fear," or whatever way you said it.
Whichever way you go with it, yeah.
Nothing adds up with this football club. I've one thing I will say, and people will know this: I have never ever claimed to be the financial guru. I haven't claimed. And listen, I get on with Sean Butler brilliantly well. I love Sean Butler, the person.
Yeah,
we just disagree a lot on the football club, the way it's run, how to get there, how to do this, which is totally fine. I literally, when it comes to everything you're saying, you just look at that game-changing stadium, which I completely forgot. We're coming up to 6 years.
6 years.
As you said, 6 years. We've had 7 managers.
Yeah.
How many directors of football have we had in there?
Well, I'm going to come on to that in a minute. I'll come on to that in a minute for you.
Do you know what? We will, because the thing is, like I said, I want to make this as much about you, and not just because it's you. What I want to do, like I said, what Tottenham on Tour want to do is I want to, Ben has said this, and all the other lads that are involved, is I want to have new people on here.
Yeah.
So people will hear new reasons, because people know Martin Yole for me. I can go through all the stats, figures, reasons, but it's old news. It's fish and chip paper. It's out there whether people agree with me. And obviously, as you know, and we spoke beforehand, the original me that came onto We Are Tottenham TV, and I use a Michael Richard terminology that burst onto the YouTube scene. Was shouting, screaming, bitching, moaning, ranting, raving. I was like, no, that doesn't work. I need to be like this. Like you said, it brought more people onto listening to me, saying, do you know what, he's more balanced. I can see what he's saying. He delivers the message better. My message has been delivered. I want to have new people come on, because I know there's over 100 people in here already.
Brilliant.
May not have heard you before. And may not, and the thing is, the main aim I want to do with this, if anyone in this chat or anyone that watches this after wants to come on a Friday and have a discussion with me about where they are and why they are, so you may resonate, Si, with a lot of people that maybe not see it my way. Because like you said, it's been fairly recent for you. You've been a fan of Spurs a lot longer than me. As you've mentioned, you saw the relegation and the dark times. And I've got a lot of people, people of your age, that were saying this is the worst time it's been since that relegation with where the club is. But this club is meant to be at the game-changing stadium. So do you want to add anything more before we go on to the next subject?
Yeah, let's go on. I want to go on to the thing about, FFP versus profit versus cash flow. Okay, so people get this all confused. So FFP is completely different from profit. It's completely different from cash flow, because player trading is a separate entity in itself. The profit that the company makes is a separate entity in itself, and the cash it has is a separate entity in itself. Albeit all three things are linked. But when you look at the cash flow for Spurs, and I'm anal enough to go and do this, when you look at their accounts and you see what we owe within a year and after 1 year on player contracts, that all factors into your cash flow spending and what cash you have available in any particular period. So I've looked at it in the football years. And there's no doubt about it, over time, the erroneous investment in squad and players over a number of years will eventually catch up with you. So we've got Dom Waster, low injured, whoever you want to name, it does catch up with you. You do. And if you look at our 2024 accounts, when they come out, but I reckon I'm pretty much on the money from this. We will have spent 300 million on player payments, transfers. And that's 154 million on players that are still at the club, but we buy every player on an HP agreement, put 50, 20, 25, 50% down, pay the rest over the term of their contract. Every football club does that. It's not just Spurs.
Yeah.
But we've got 100, so we spend 300 million in cash, 154 is on players we already had. And then I reckon in the 2024-25 season, we'll spend 146 million on current players and deposits, etc. We'll spend 300 million. And what everybody forgets as well, just in cash terms, is that with those debts, we'll still pay £42 million per season for the players that we bought up until June 2024, 42 million a season. And then when we talk about money and FFP and cash, when people say just pay the money, it's a bit naive, because on top of that, you've got minimum 10% plus for transfers, for agents' fees on the transfers. You just have that goes out. So people need to think about that. All that being said, at the end of this season, and I don't think I'll be far out with this, we will have 160 million quid in the bank to be able to spend. And that's based on Stefan Borson's 420 million turnover. So this is where it does my head in. And this goes on to my next point about the transfer window and where my next beef with the board is. So you can go around, and I don't mean this to be disrespectful to everybody. A lot of people go, well, they spent 20 million on Danso, they spent 12.5 million on Kinski, and they spent 55 million on Tell. Okay. So let's just explore that a little bit. So Kinski, we would have paid out 2.5 million quid in cash. Okay. 2.5 million quid. Danso, we would probably pay somewhere like 4 million quid, let's say. Okay. And with Tell, all that we have to pay is 1/5 of the loan fee of 10 million, which is another 2 million quid. So we have spent, if you add that lot up, 8 million quid. Okay. We ended last season, and I think the accounts will prove this. We had 30 odd million in the bank. We raised 35 million in share capital in December, which ENIC put in. So that would have given us 60 million, and we've just spent 8. Well, that's just over 10%. It's not good enough. Honestly, it is not good enough, because if you look at that the other way around, if you take 40 million as a sum to invest in the team, and you say, right, okay, we're going to spread the rest of the payments over 5 seasons, we could have bought 200 million pounds worth of players, okay, in cash terms. And in FFP, if Mr. Borson is correct, and my figures come up the same, we had 180 million of headroom in FFP. So we could have done it cash-wise, and we could have done it FFP headroom-wise. So for me, quite simply, not good enough. Totally not good enough.
Yeah, I mean, so first of all, we'll do a couple of we got a super sticker from DMB, which I can't bring up, but thank you, DMB. And then a good friend of mine, Eugene, saying, like I said, nobody remembers who built stadiums. Fans remember feeling proud of their club. Win or lose, Levy ENIC will be known as killing the soul of the club. And this is where I want to go to. This is where, listen, we all know, like I said, I'm not a financial person. I don't, but when it comes to this, we have got money to spend. We do. There is no doubt about it. The board choose not to. They choose to do this. They will buy players that they can put on low wages, and like you said, spread it over. There is, we're even when we go through FFP, PSR, what is going on with this football club. I agree with a lot you say there, but also like I said, we keep going on about the game changer. We keep going. We were told that we need European football to pay to entice the big players and pay the wages. Well, we don't do that. We were told that when we're out of it, we need to get back there to be able to do it. We haven't signed one Champions League elite player in the time we were in the Champions League. The game-changing stadium, the manager's quality I mean, we'll talk about managers later in this. So I think at the moment we are being sold down the river. Our soul is being destroyed. There is no identity. I put a tweet out today. That video where we hear to dare is to do, it's about Gaza, Waddle, the 30-yard free. Well, now I've changed it. I said we're about the touchdown, the knockout, the skywalk. We are Beyonce. We are Gaga. We are the Rolling Stones. Let's get away from financial and let's talk about this as a football club. And right now, where we are as a football club is a million miles away from where anyone would have. It's like I said, there's a lot of people now that are coming on board, and obviously the protests. And just as I mentioned, the protests, I will be doing another stream live 9 p.m. tomorrow UK time with Jay.
Brilliant.
There's going to be a lot more stuff coming out. There's going to be a lot more stuff said regarding it. But I want to get back to, like you said, where you were fully with, or
So that the finances, I just can't say, I can't hear that anymore because it's rubbish. It is absolute rubbish. And then we're an embarrassment in the transfer window, because if you think about Liverpool, Arsenal, Man City, Newcastle and Forest, what do they all have in common? Well, they weren't scrabbling around on the last weekend of the transfer window trying to get players in. They did their business last summer. I know Arsenal fans will say, well, we didn't spend any money and we need a forward. Well, that tells you one thing: there aren't forwards out there that they want, and you have to have settled squads. We missed an opportunity last summer. You could speak to any number of commentators, not just people on YouTube, but commentators, people who understand the game, who would have told you that Spurs squad was like. It's staring you in the face. Going in with one left back was never going to work. It's ridiculous. And if you need a settled squad and you need to work with them because you've got squad patterns of play. Well, we threw Danso and Tell under the bus last night because how the hell are they going to learn what to do in 3 days? If you'd have got them in the beginning of January, they'd have had a month under their belt before a cup semi-final. And again,
or Guehi, because apparently we really went for Guehi, didn't we?
Yeah, well, that's a PR stunt, isn't it? Let's be honest. Absolute PR stunt of the highest order and complete bollocks, if you want my opinion. But there you go. But there's nothing settled about Spurs, except for the board. Oh, yeah, that doesn't change. That's nice and settled. So that's why I have a problem with that. Just imagine if we'd got them in at the start of the window, we might have actually won a couple more Premier League games. And I equate it to this. If you said that we'd won, I don't know, let's say 2 games out of those that we played in January after a bedding in time, we would have gone 3 places up the league, which is worth £11.5 million more quid in league places. And you're quibbling over whether you're going to spend £5 million on Danso. Complete and utter bollocks. It is small club thinking, small club mentality.
Yeah, well, Joe, I'm just to bring. I don't normally do this, but this guy has been doing this. I just want to bring up this guy here, who now will be blocked by one of the mods. This is what we've become. This is what it is. Brian, I will be straight. Your negative Canadian attitude shows how stupid you are, because I'm from Britain, from England. I am from London. I'm not Canadian. I live in Canada. Good on you, though. Or I should say, hi, Ray. Hi. And then if you're not happy, go support another team. We don't need you. This is where I just want to. This is, Simon, as you know, I've stood out against Levy for 17 years, so I've had to deal with this, and rubbish. I used to fight this all the time. But this is what we deal with, people on my side now, or people that I just don't get it now, that I can't see one thing. So right now, give me one thing, football wise, that there is to be positive about this football club right now.
Well, you'd be clutching at straws, wouldn't you? There's one I could go for, or two. Archie Gray, Lucas Bergvall. Those are
Okay.
good
Yep.
things with the football club. I do like the fact that we have a decent stadium, but you got to put a decent team in it. So I think that's a done deal. 6 years, I'm going to repeat that. So well done. When you move on much further than that, where else can you go? We're underperforming. We've got a great training centre. Well, that's great for the players, but what does it mean for us fans who pay for that training centre and pay for it? Well, we want to see success on the pitch, don't we? Surely that's the quid pro quo. Must be.
That's the thing. This is why I get so frustrating. People think that this is something I want to be doing with my time. People think that I want to be saying this kind of stuff and calling it out for what it is, rather than going on about we're challenging regularly, we're buying the better, the bigger players, we're constantly upgrading. And you know what? I'm going to go back to what you said with Nottingham Forest in the window.
Yeah.
Literally, I will use Nottingham Forest, who right now, don't get me wrong, they're having a Leicester kind of moment. Not going to get there. But you look at Nottingham Forest, who were 28 years, I think, outside the Premier League. Mm-hmm. No Premier League money incoming. Obviously, lost the parachute payments, which were nowhere near the money they are now. Mm-hmm. No Sky money, or they got Championship level. No European football. No game-changing stadium. No events, concerts, F1 Skywalk, blah, 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 blah. Been in the Premier League 3 years, in a relegation struggle for 2, deducted points in one of them, and are now where they are, and we are where we are. But you get people like that person before who says,
But you have to question it. Listen, you have to question it. And what we're doing here is we are stacking up the evidence that supports a position. If someone else can come on and stack up the evidence another way, then I'm sure we'd all listen to it and be interested in hearing it. But like I say to you, I can only think of the positives at the moment is the fact that we have got a good future. Some of the players we've got coming through and we bought for the future, they could be good. They could be, but we don't know that yet. That's not the now, though. It's not the now. It's always, jam today, cream and cherry on the top tomorrow. Well, we've had that. It's been going on for ages. What are you going to do to change it? And that then brings me on to the next thing, for me, about the board failing. There's a board failing in the style flip-flop. 1 minute it's Poch, then it's the Monio and the Poison Dwarf and that turgid crap that they served up. I never want to see that football ever again. That's not why I want to watch. Why I loved watching Spurs and want to watch Spurs. And you put up another point here. Head of recruitment. This is in Levy's era. Okay.
Yep.
So I've split all of this into hit, miss, and jury's out. Okay. And I'll justify these points. So hits for me, David Pleat and Paul Mitchell did a great job. Miss, Arneson, because he buggered off to Chelsea as soon as the money came. Kamoli, not sure about him at all. Baldini, he wasted all the Bale money in that era. And then you've got Hitchin. And then the jury's out for me is Paratici and Langer. And then this is, I say this on every show I go on, I hate it. And when certain people come and tell me that brilliant phrase, Paratici's cooking. Oh, yeah, he's cooking, is he? So let's go through his hits and misses. So with the time when he was solely in charge, we've got Romero, Pat Matasar, Kulu, Destiny, Pedro, hits for me. Misses, just remember this bloke signed these for us. Galini, Hill, Royale, Richarlison, Bissouma, Perisic, Forster, Longley, Danjuma. How have they all turned out? That's cooking, is it? And then we've got the jury's out for me, which is Bentancur because he was good and he's had an injury and we need to give him time. Spence is doing well at the moment. How long will that last? And then we've got Vuskovic, who we just don't know. Then we've got the summer when Ange joined. So is this Levy, Paratici, Ange? So we've got the hits from that of Vicario, Madders to a degree, Van der Ven, and Brennan Johnson. And before anyone slaughters me on Brennan Johnson, the bloke's still our top goal scorer this season and scored quite a number of goals last season. So I'm basing it on that. The bloke plays up front, he scores goal. That's good enough for me. Then you've got misses, which is Solomon and Veliz, because I don't think there's a player in Veliz. And then I've got a jury's out of Ash Phillips, doing well in the Championship. Will he make it? Don't know. Then let's look at Langer's period. We got Radu in, who I think is going to be a good defender. And, you know, people are saying he makes mistakes, he does his stuff. The lad is 22. He's 22. Then we got Bergvall, I think is going to be good. We've had Gray. And we've got Solanke. Big fat miss, Mr. Werner. And then we've got the jury's out on Yang Min Hyuk, Kinski, Danso and Tell. So when you're looking at, if you just stack the numbers up with that, Lang has done better than this Cooking Paratici. And what you got to add into that as well is, so all the players that have failed, and I am going to put Dom Waster and Lo Celso in the mix with this, and other players, whoever you want to choose that goes in that mix, who ultimately signed off the buy-in of those players? Cut to the chase. Who signed it off?
Levy.
Yeah. So you can't have the cake and all the Archie Gray's brilliant, and I'm going to stand up and say that's the future of our club. And then if you're looking at the board itself, do you remember we had a chief commercial officer called Todd Klein? Yeah, do you remember what he was? Yeah, do you remember what he was brought in to do?
Broken some of the biggest deals over here in NFL history.
Yeah, where is he now? Just remind me.
Chelsea.
Yeah, so we did such a good job in bringing him in. He decided he wanted to go to Chelsea. So who appointed him? And then let's go to that next lovely little cherry that again drives me mad with the stadium naming rights. We have a certain person try and justify to us that there's been a value study done and the naming rights are worth X to us. Really? How much of, just tell me, somebody tell me in the chat or somebody come on and put me right on this. How much of that has gone into the bank, or how much of that has gone into our FFP pool? Or how much of that has gone into developing our club? Because what I would say is, if you have the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, which we're saying is this great big thing that's worth a load of money to us, why don't you make it, if you're this wonderful businessman, this visionary, why don't you make it the Google Tottenham Hotspur Stadium? And what you get then is the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium that you value, people knowing the name around the world, but you would have had 15 to 20 million pounds a season of hard cash coming in for PSR and doing everything else. It's bloody simple. And it's a double whammy.
I'm going to say now, well, when it comes to Johan Lange, I think this guy is the biggest waste of space that has ever been. I actually put him on a par with Hitchin. He does things quietly. He does things under. Yeah, okay. This, like I said, I just. When you mentioned the naming rights, that's another avenue you look at. There is just so much of what you said that I do agree. But there is stuff, like I said, the directors of football, they've all turned around and said, can't work with this guy, doesn't listen. What I will say is I saw a tweet, and I can't remember who put it. It's one of my friends, I can't remember. You're saying about obviously the youth and coming through. Someone put a tweet out and literally said, "Do you know what? When we're all dead, Spurs are going to be fucking brilliant."
Yeah, absolutely.
I honestly it's being light-hearted, making.
But can I say to all you youngsters like you, you've got time on your hands. I haven't.
Yeah, do you know what? We've got time. You're right. I mean, we got time on it, but I can't do this. It's all well and good bringing an Archie Gray in, and I will say, and I said it when we signed him. I think Archie Gray is a wonderful Wonderful signing. And I think he's going to be a future captain for Tottenham. He'll be an England international. He'll be an England regular. But for every decent football club, when they bring in youngsters, they buy for every youngster they buy. There's a couple of stars around them. You look at it, for instance, when a Dele Alli came into peak Poch, he had to look to the side of him, to the front of him, and behind him. There were diamonds all around him. They were he was cocooned by diamonds. Whereas now it's literally, you're a youngster, you've got a lot of energy. Off you go. Play. I get buying youngsters. I'm all for buying youngsters. But when you buy youngsters, you have to supplement it with people ready for now. And the people we buy ready for now aren't the players that are A, going to improve the youngsters and show them how it's done, or B, propel Tottenham Hotspur to where we were told we should be. And it's not where we think we should be. We were told this is what we're going to do.
Well, I've just got one last thing to say on the stadium. You know, look, it's great we get 14 more events. We make 5 million quid an event. That's 70 million quid that comes in. But that's only any good if we invest it in the team, not this bloody property development company that we are now. It's mad. And then,
let me just tell you this, because I don't know if I shared this with you yesterday. I did my bit on We Are Tottenham TV. And like I said, I've heard some classic excuses. Some classic excuses for why we are where we are and why we're not spending. I genuinely had someone comment, the reason we are where we are is because of all the extra events we're doing, is the energy bills we're having to pay and to pay the staff to do it. Not the players, not the managers, the stewards, security. That is what is stopping us. We are meant to be the greenest football club in the Premier League. We have changed to, like everyone else, to all these things to lower our carbon footprint. We make a whole thing about going zero carbon neutral for a game. The lies and the excuses from the owners, the fans about this stadium. We are getting to a point now, like I said, I mean,
but we are all exposing it, though, aren't we? This is the whole point of this. We are exposing it. We're the ones that are cutting through it, you know. And fair play to everybody who does that. And like I said, if anybody wants to, you know, talk to me about the plus size, I can talk the plus size. I'll talk it up. I think there have been good things that have happened, but you have to look at what the issue is now. And you know, if just closing up for me on the board. They were fit to run the club when it was 100 million turnover. They're not now. Entrepreneurs, boards grow, boards go. People brighter than you run a business that's bigger because you're not capable of it. But Mr. Levy's ego gets in the way of that. And if you look, I've just, because I'm anal about this, Bryce. So apologies for that.
No,
if you look at other businesses that turn over, you know, £500 million, just let that sink in, £500 million, they have a board minimum of 8. Well, we got 5. And why do we have it at 5? Because it's the same old bodies that have been there for years and it causes the least fuss to a property developer. And then I hear the argument, you know, and Sean's been quite vocal on this, and fair play to him. I'm not going against Sean on this, but be careful who you wish for and better the devil you know. Really? Oh, really? We need to appoint a football board that is fit for purpose. We do not have one. Scott Munn, you're a joke. You're a joke because you're the invisible man. And then I've heard people say to me, well, who would you have that would do a better job at the head of football enterprises? Well, I'll tell you who. Number 1 on my list would be Paul Barber. Do you remember? Of this parish, Brighton. Where is he now? What does he do? Magnificent. And again, he went because of certain person's ego. And I'll tell you another man who would do a magnificent job. And if anybody wants to see podcasts and stuff that he's done, he is a magnificent speaker and he gets football. And that is Steve Parish at Palace. They would transform our football side, and for the better. So I'm not just saying Levy has to go. And I said on Chrissy's show, and I'll say it again now, if ENIC and Levy want to be shareholders of the business and do their property development stuff, I don't have a problem. Go off, play your games, do what you want. But you don't have to be the board that runs our football club, because you're not good enough. You are not good enough. And for all the reasons I'm stacking up, that's why you're not good enough.
Yeah, I mean, so what I will say one thing. Then I've got 5 minutes before I've got to go back to it. I will say as well, I'm not even now. I'm at the point, I've been there for a while. I don't even trust Levy to look after the business side as much as he's good at it. On the, well, you say good on the business side. Stadium's delivered a year late, £600 million over budget, fan price, blah blah blah. I don't trust him. If he was to, even if he was to sign a contract saying, "Oh, we'll have nothing to do with football," I don't believe it. I'd want it in every single language humanly possible, and every loop, like literally. I cannot trust. Every time his lips move, he is fucking lying. Now we're going to end off with, because I'm going to be doing more with Sire, because there's a lot more to go into. And like I said, people,
I'm sorry if it's a dry subject, mate, but it's just that
it's not, mate.
I'm trying to stack the evidence up for people to say, look, you need to look at this. And when the accounts come out, do go and see on the accounts. It's transparent how much money we had in the bank last August. Add 35 million quid to it because the football club trades cash in profit, and that's what we could have had as the base for our January spending. Just look at it.
I mean, like I said, there's so much to talk about this. And like I said, people, when I bring these people on Friday, their views to why they're the board out could be very, very different. And people look at things in a very, very different way, and look at the players they brought in or the managers that have come or whatever in a very different way. But the main thing is that people want the board out. And this is Si, who, like I said, hasn't been on YouTube for long. That certainly hasn't been on Tottenham Talks. Coming has different views. I don't want to be the same subject, talking about the same people and the same ideas over and over again. So hearing Si is refreshing. And before we just wrap up with an FA Cup game we've got coming up, I want to say big up to a very good friend of mine, Terry O'Shea. Big up to both of us and Levy out, damn right. So, Simon, let you finish with, I think, put it this way, by the end of Sunday, we're at another cup competition. And I think it's going to be the same performance from the same tired players. And Villa are just going to have a field day with us. Where are you with this? And what do you think happens after Villa?
Well, look, I am definitely Ange in, and I'll just say my reasons why. I've seen enough good performances when he's had a full squad available to see that there's something good in it. So for all the reasons that we all know why there isn't or isn't the squad that he needs, let's park that. But there's been enough good performances to do that. My other point on that is, if you put Pep Guardiola in charge of that side, you name any manager you want who's had to go through what he does and deal with the lack of investment in the team, in the players that he wants to play his system, nobody with that board sitting above them and the way that we operate at the moment is going to be successful. End of story. You could put put whoever you want in charge, there will not be a different outcome. And for me, I just can't go through another rebuild. And I just think that if you look at the stuff that Ange has done in terms of bringing on Lucas Bergvall, Archie Gray, he has improved players, in my opinion. Other people have their opinion. It's fine. I can go with that. But you can't keep flip-flopping. You have to let a manager, as much as we did with Poch, run their contract and give him the best chance to survive. And the bottom line for that is, will this board allow him to do it? In my considered opinion, no. But the next bloke who comes in, be exactly the same. Doesn't matter who it is. I just can't see it. And like I said, I've had so what is it now? Crikey, for 52 years following Spurs, and the only time we ever have success is when we give a manager time. I go back to the general, Keith Birkinshaw. I go back to Poch. Go back to whomever you want, Harry. They all had time. You've got to give managers time, and that's why I sit where I am. But I do think we'll be out of that cup come Sunday, because it's too little too late in the transfer window, and he's been hung out to dry by the board by not investing enough, whether it was in the summer or this transfer window, whatever. They're not giving him a squad fit for purpose, mate, in my opinion.
That's what will always happen. Now, people, we are going to wrap up there because I have to get back to work in literally minutes. But Si, it's been a pleasure having you on finally. We're going to do a lot more where we can dive into it. Like I said, people, I will be back tomorrow with Jay from Change for Spurs. There may be a couple of others joining. I'm just waiting for confirmation, but we shall see. Everyone, Matty Kushner's channel is just up and running, and I recorded something with him yesterday with Perchy and Eugene. You're going to be redirected straight to him. Please, everyone, just go and subscribe to Matty K. He's a 15-year-old kid that is trying to come into the YouTube world, and we've taken him under our wing. He's a lovely little guy. Everyone, have a great Saturday, because Spurs will ruin your Sunday. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and as always, Levy out. Go on, Si, giving it the Levy out.